Ideas and their expression in form have no existence whatsoever. They are unreal. They are but images conjured up by the image-making faculty of mind in the ecstasy of thinking. Their appearance of existence is due solely to motion and limited to the effects of motion. Increase motion in opposition, and every effect of the illusion intensifies to its limitation in the simulation in non-motion in opposition of the universal white light of mind. Decrease motion in opposition, and every effect of the illusion nubilizes and eventually disappears into the white light of non-motion in inertia. Every idea is constantly changing. Every effect of motion is constantly changing. Changing things can have no existence. On the contrary, all that man calls the undependable unreality of the unseen universe is in fact the only reality. Mind is the only real thing in the universe, and mind is all that is. Mind is the only substance in the universe. There is no other substance. Thinking mind is the only living thing in the universe. The thinking of mind is the life principle of the one substance. Thinking mind evolves ideas and registers them in form through motion. Man's physical universe of solids of matter is an aggregation of the forms of idea thought out by mind and held in suspense for a time. If these premises are well-founded, one can more intelligently answer the supreme question, what is God? If there is but one substance, one being, one mind, one force, and that one is the only existing reality, must not that one be that which we term God? If all that which we know as form is but the changing illusion of the image-making faculty of thinking mind, then God must be formless and unchanging. If there is but one mind, and man is admittedly mind, then is not the form of man unreal, and the real man formless? If the real man is formless, and the image of man is but an illusion of his thinking, is not that illusion of man self-creating? And is man not also God? And are not all things also God? Are not all things the one thing, thinking out the several ideas of the one real thing in the appearance of many unreal things? Is not that which we call heaven but an image of man's thinking? If the statement herein made that form has no existence, and that nothing in this universe has time, place, or position, is in accord with the laws of motion herein formulated, then it must follow that man's heaven and hell must be illusions. If such places exist, they must be somewhere in the universe. They cannot be extraneous to it. If they exist within the universe, their existence must have dimension. If they are dimensionable, they must be subject to the laws of changing things. There is no part of the universe which enjoys the special privilege of immunity from the laws of gravitation and radiation. Man's heaven and hell are but illogical concepts of the outer mind. The inner mind rejects such unwholesome imaginings. They are traditions inherited from an age of superstition, of ignorance, of nature's laws, of fear, of belief in an avenging God, and of an attitude of mind which demanded the miraculous as a deific qualification. Man is self-creating, as all idea of mind is self-creative. That which we call self is but the changing form of idea thought out by the unchanging, formless one. Individuality, therefore, is non-existent, except as it appears to exist in things of changing form. If individuality is only an effect of more or less sustained motion, and ceases with cessation of motion, Then individuality disappears with form at the passing point of absolute inertia in the cycle of motion. If individuality in form is an ideal only and sustained in the appearance of existence by the electromagnetic force of thinking, then that which man calls God cannot have form, nor can the attribute of individuality be attributed to him. God must be, can only be, universal. If God is universal, then all else is universal. If God is omnipresent, omnipotent, and omnipotent, then all of the universe is omnipresent, omnipotent, and omnipotent. When man learns that God is mind, that mind is the one living, pulsing, thinking force, and that he is that force, then man will have arrived at another stage of his evolution. When man learns that true thinking is an equilibrium of action and reaction, and that untrue thinking is unequal and opposed action and reaction, and when he further learns that he must suffer the consequences of his unequal actions by paying the penalty through the reaction in accordance with the absolute law from which there is no appeal to God or man, he will then think true. When man learns that all his thinking is electrochemically recorded in the heavy master tones which constitute a record of the evolving ideal of his self-creating soul, and when he finds that a badly opposed record will keep him centuries behind more equally opposed ones, he will then have a thought as to the kind of a soul he is creating. When man learns that this universe of solid things is but a reflection of the ideas of those things, and that he is but a simulation of the idea of himself being thought out in eternity by himself, then he will know the ecstasy of inner thinking. Age and death are but sequences alternating with youth and life. These two opposing effects of motion are born together, but each travels a different direction along the wave of life. They pass each other at maturity, where generation of one sequential life ends and its degeneration begins, only to meet again at the inertial plane of eternal life, where degeneration ends and regeneration begins, in another change of preponderance, for another journey through time, space, and motion. There is no death, there is no darkness, there is only life in this universe of light. God is life, God is light, God is all that is. Just so long as man looks for the God force outside of nature and outside of himself, just so long as he bows in fear to the personal deity of his early inheritance, he will be the slave of his own imaginings. To know that the universal force is mind, and that man and all else that is mind, is to inspire man with the ecstasy of inner thinking. The God force speaks to inspired man of inner thinking in the universal language of light, which all may understand when they but desire to understand. Few there have been, but countless numbers there will be who will know the light of inner thinking. Gautama, the Buddha, knew it faintly, as Mohammed later knew it. Abraham dimly visioned it. Jacob knew the light less vaguely. The symbol of the Shekinah was his ecstatic visioning. Moses knew the ecstasy of inner thinking in greater clarity. Abraham lived again in Jacob and in Moses and again in David. David and the prophets of his primitive day knew the light more clearly still, and left a symbol of the seven lights so that others to come might know that they knew tonal laws of evolving and devolving things. David lived again in Jesus. Jesus, the Nazarene, knew the universal language of light in all its fullness. He knew the ecstasy of inner thinking as no man has ever known it.